Hey guys, how's it going? Welcome to another video. Today we're going to be looking at some NRG gameplay from the Paris Major. We're starting off with Beast Mode POV of Game 3 against Manchester City. Manchester City currently leading 2-0, which is a huge surprise. We'll elaborate on that in a minute. We're also going to take a look at some games between NRG and Furia from the playoffs. And we're just going to be discussing what went wrong for NRG this event. What happened? Is this the writing on the wall for the roster? Is it just a one-time bad event and they're going to be back to normal after this? All of that in this video. I am only going to be discussing, and I want to make it absolutely clear here, I'm only going to be discussing my opinions about what's happening. I don't know about anything behind the scenes, so I can't speak to anything other than what I think, other than my opinions. I can also, and I will also, refer to Beast Mode's video that he made, giving his take on their event. He just put that on his YouTube channel, I think yesterday, at the time I'm recording this. And yeah, Sathew's also tweeted about their performance. So I'm only going to be speaking about my opinions and also things that are public information, just so that you guys understand. There is no leaking of behind the scenes things. I've got nothing to leak, even if I wanted to, which I don't. But okay, Game 3 must win for NRG against Man City. And it doesn't start well. Edgeby with a really good play here. First passing to himself in the corner wall, then he gets a quad touch reset mid, and Seiko trusted the whole way to make it 1-0. Now, one thing I want you to notice is 6 shots to Man City, 2 shots to NRG. That is a theme for this event, which is not something we're used to seeing. That's NRG struggling to put up shots. In all of their events that they played, especially RLCS events, as a trio, NRG have never had any difficulty creating shooting chances. The main criticism people, including myself, have had about their gameplay, even when they have been successful, is that a lot of their shots are not particularly threatening. NRG often use shots to just generate boost steals or to maintain pressure as they're especially in games where they're already leading. They'll just pepper shots, and none of them are really likely to go in, but it's fine because they'll have a boost advantage. They'll have decent control of midfield, and their opponents will just kind of be struggling to create a weakness or create an outplay opportunity, because NRG are very good at avoiding mistakes. They play a very fluid style. They move around the pitch very, very well, giving each other time to react to each other's plays. I think they are one of, if not the best team when it comes to pre-jump passing plays in the past couple of years, and they're also mechanical as individuals that they can create their own goals. They don't need pre-jump passing plays. They don't need risky plays. They can just go for solo plays. Beast Mode especially is allowed to do pretty much anything he wants in this team as first man, because Daniel is one of the best thirds in the world, and Atomic is jack of all trades. He's just going to fill the gaps really well. He's one of the most versatile players of all time. Obviously one of the all-time greats. So that's the energy we've seen in the past. It's not the energy we're seeing right now. The energy we're seeing right now, to me, looks more like a practice lobby version of NRG, where they are still, doing a lot of the same things. They're moving around the pitch. They're stealing boosts. They're keeping the ball moving. I think they do move the ball very well in general, and they're looking somewhat mechanical in the air. But the reason I say this looks more like a practice lobby to me is because practice lobbies, and I'm sure you guys have seen some of those in behind-the-scenes streams or on team streams on RLCS Fridays. All of these players are still the same players. They're still moving the same way. They're still making the same kind of plays on the ball, but there's less direction to it. It's a lot more random. Everybody's just moving the ball around randomly, and I'm seeing a lot of that here. Yes, they're NRG are making some progress. They're hitting the ball forwards. They're hitting the ball towards each other, but they are lacking that true level of synergy that we've been used to seeing from them, and that would enable them to contend for this major. This is something that I think Beast Mode spoke about a few times in his video post-event. He said that they were able to synergize in some games, like Game 5 against MIBR, if I recall. He said that they were finally playing the way they want to play. But yeah, safe to say NRG were not able to establish their play style. They were not able to play the way they want for the vast majority of this event. And I will be speaking in the next game against Fury. I won't get into it now because we only have 20 odd seconds left. But yeah, we'll go into the why Beast Mode and Sathew and now everybody is speculating as to NRG's failure to produce their usual level. But before we get into that, let's see if they can make any last-second drama here against the EU 5 seed, who nobody thought had any chance here. This is a group of life. NRG had the easiest group in RLCS history, and they honestly could have lost 2-0 there. HB nearly makes it 2, but that's GG's 3-0. Manchester City top the group of life. NRG missing a really, really big chance here, not just to get the first seed in the group of life, but also they would have played Shopify Rebellion in the upper quarters, which is a team they have a great record against online. So it was honestly really scripted. This event was super scripted for NRG. Had they made a run and won it, people would have been, making conspiracy theories as usual as to, NRG, they always get the favorable bracket. So this was super, super good bracket on paper, not just group, but the whole way for NRG, and they weren't able to get the job done. So yeah, they definitely beat this one big time. But let's get into game 2 against Furia, the second game of this video, and see what went wrong there. Okay, we're on Atomic POV for game 2 against Furia. Game 1 was a 2-0 win for NRG, but there was one odd thing about it, and I already spoke about it in the previous game we just watched. NRG only had 2 shots, so they were clinical. They took both their chances. They had 2 shots, 2 goals. So in one way, that's great. You know, your shooting percentage is going to look brilliant on the graphic, but historically, Rocket League teams that win have more shots than their opponents. They usually, if you get more shots, you get more chances, you're more likely to win. NRG actually were massively outstruck by Furia in that game, and they were able to win it by being clinical. Furia were not clinical, but not something I thought was going to continue into the rest of the series. I remember casting this game, and CJ and I were talking about it on the cast. We're saying, okay, that's really unusual. NRG can't get more than 2 shots. We're not expecting that to continue, but hey, they're clinical. So game 2 against Furia, let's see if they can improve on that. They got 1 shot so far. I don't think it was a massive chance at all, but Atomic's got 1 on the board in the first minute. But yeah, I do want to also speak about like I said, the Beast Mode and Sathu information that they've publicized about NRG's bad event here. Beast Mode cleared up one thing that does make a lot of sense as to their lack of synergy and their lack of individual level. He said that coming into bootcamp, Atomic had 17 to 20 hours past 2. That means in the past 2 weeks, he's played 17 hours of Rocket League. And that he himself had between 20 and 30, and Daniel had 30 odd. I think that's exactly the numbers he said, but if not, then apologies for the slight inaccuracies there. But regardless, anything in that range is extremely low for Rocket League pros. Those are kind of off-season. I've had a full week off kind of numbers, and I've only played 1 of the past 2 weeks. But yeah, 20 to 30 hours past 2 coming into an event as big as Paris and as hyped as Paris is extremely low. So that's very unusual. I would expect the lower end for a player coming into a bootcamp for an event like this to be 60, and then some pros are even going to be upwards of 100. So NRG as a team having less hours played than I think, and I'm pretty sure some individual pros on other teams would have, is absolutely very low. Now, I've seen like 2 different main takes from the community on this. Very, very wide range of opinions on this matter. One group is saying this is unacceptable. These guys, it's their job, and they're not doing their job. They need to be playing more than this for the fans, for themselves, for the org who are paying them. It's just not acceptable to pull up to an event of this scale and not have more games played, not be more well prepared. In addition to that, by the way, I should have also mentioned, I think, Beastmo said in his video that they barely scrimmed. So, yeah, not a lot of individual practice, not a lot of team practice. The opposite of what you'd expect of a team of NRG's caliber in an event of this magnitude. But the other take online, which is a somewhat popular one, is that these guys have won the World Championship. They've won so much of the team. If they want to take it easy, take a break, that's up to them. And the fans, the Rocket League scene as a whole, everyone has no right to question their preferred amount of hours played in the game, because ultimately it's their decision. They're the ones in the tournament, so if they don't want to play, And yeah, they probably all know that reduces their chances to win, and that's fine, and they can go ahead and do that. So those are the ranges of opinions I've seen. I think that the accurate one, and this is now my opinion on the matter, is probably somewhere in the middle, and that is that yes, as individuals, I think if Beast Mode, Dino, and Atomic are not feeling motivated, don't want to put hours into the game, of course, that is absolutely up to them, and they know the consequences of lack of preparation. So if they lose after they didn't prepare, that's fine. I'm sure that they're aware, and it sounds like they are aware of that. Yeah, obviously that's their decision. If you as a fan, I think if you as a fan want to complain about it, nobody can stop you. But yeah, you see that in sports all the time. Some fans will complain that they got this superstar in their team who doesn't work. Another team have a hardest working culture, and they're the ones who benefit from it. So you're going to get that all the time. Ultimately, it's up to you to decide whether or not you're bothered by that. If that makes you a fan of them less, then that's also totally reasonable. But the one part that I think is definitely surprising to me is the fact that they're org-backed, highly successful org in Rocket League, one of the most successful orgs in Rocket League history, NRG, with a ton of support from the org. These guys are paid to play. I'm surprised that the org, well, I haven't actually seen the org say anything about this, but I'm surprised that there's this little preparation going in with an org backing. I think if these guys were just a trio of players with no organization backing, and they decided that they don't want to prep for this major, I think that's totally 100% fine. As there's the goal actually for Furia to win. We'll continue this discussion going to the next game, but quick glance at the scoreboard. That was the only shot for NRG, just one shot. So coming off game one where they only had 2 shots and 2 goals, now they have 1 shot, no goals. Yeah, again, NRG really struggling to create any sort of scoring chance. It's just very aimless, uninspiring gameplay by their usual standard. But like I said, we'll continue the discussion into the next game, which I think was probably the most shocking one for me to witness live. Alright guys, we fast forwarded to game 4. We're going to continue the discussion about NRG's prep or lack thereof in the major in a sec, but let me just very quickly set the stage for this game so you understand what we're watching. So after Furia tied the series 1-1 in Forbidden Temple, they were able to win the next game 3-1. Again, fairly convincing win against NRG, so they were in control of the series. NRG called timeout, and now this game happens. Now, I very quickly want to take a little bit of a tangent and say that when I saw this game, first 4 minutes of it, I thought, okay, here we go. This is more like it. This is what we're likely to see from here on, and probably going to be the series win for NRG, which was 100% predicted. Every single caster in the entire RLCS team predicted NRG to win this. That's a really good save by Lost, by the way. But yeah, everybody thought NRG is going to win, and even though they were struggling in this series, it wasn't too bad. Like they're up 1-0 already. This is more like off the timeout. Good passing play, 1-0. NRG are back, or so we thought. And yeah, this game I think highlights that it's not just about failure to create offense, but NRG have another problem as well that they've not really shown in the past. The offensive one, that's a great goal again. I mean, I don't even have to talk about it. NRG are just banging in goals, 2-0. So yeah, as you can see, this is why I thought at the time I watched this, okay, NRG are back. They, had a slow start, just like KC did against Foot in the group stage. Now we've got the real NRG. Bear in mind, this was the first match in front of a crowd, first match in the big stage, so yeah, happens. Some teams start slow, then they lock in, get the job done. So it very much looks like NRG are going to be doing that here, as we've got the offense, the quick fire, clean offense that we're used to seeing, putting them up 2-0. Okay, before we get into the tail end of this match, where another problem rears its ugly head, I should say. To finish off that thought about the the hours and the lack of scrims and this lack of preparation in general, summary is players, if there's like a random team of 3 pros that are not org backed and they decide not to prep, I think that's nobody can complain about that. Those players are the only ones affected. Fans are going to choose to complain if they want to. That's just up to them generally. But the org, I'm not sure how NRG feel about this, but I have to imagine that the org is feeling pretty disappointed, probably extremely disappointed. not just in the result, but about the and now public information, and more importantly about the fact that the team didn't prepare, and they've said so themselves, they just didn't prepare well enough for this event. Nice play here to make it 3-0. That's more what we like to see from NRG. They're clinical, they're quick in offense, they're establishing boost advantages, and they're converting. So this is what we expect. Clean victory from here. NRG never lose from 3 goals down. 3 goals up, I should say. But yeah, long story short on the whole prep thing, obviously NRG are going to need to prepare a lot harder for EWC, for Worlds, for any FIFA events if they play them as a trio. This is a world's most obvious take. You prepare more, you're probably going to do well. Obviously you don't want to burn out, but yeah, I don't think you're in danger of burning out if you're playing 20 to 30 hours per day. My own opinion on that is that I think a lot of Rocket League pros struggle with the idea of putting work into the game, because if you do play a game, this is another very common take online, and it's accurate. If you do play a game as much as these guys do, then you are likely to get bored of it, you can get burnt out, you've got to be careful not to burn out. I think, this is my opinion, that the way to avoid burning out in that regard is to have other things in your life that you can go and do when you're done playing the game for your job, because it is their job. They're paid by NRG to play this game. It's their job. They're professional players. So they're not doing their profession well if they're not practicing and preparing. If they want to practice and prepare well, I think the way to avoid burnout is to have other things in your real life. Some pros are able to do this extremely well. They're able to be professionals. And they're able to treat the game like a job and work harder for way longer, many more years than NRG have been together as a trio, and still continue to grind. But yeah, NRG need to, I think they just need some self-reflection here. They need to start treating this more like a job, and then once they do that, I think they're going to have better results. Yeah, I know, very cold take, but that's just the truth of it. Okay, what is going on here? NRG were up 3-0, looked like they were just about to take control of the series, and now it's all going wrong. They've conceded twice in quick succession, and now here comes the lost. Bang, and it's 3-3. And I couldn't believe this when I was watching it live. I actually couldn't believe it, because obviously we've got the now we know NRG didn't prepare well angle. But if there's one thing they've always been able to do, even when the offense is failing, it's defend. And now they've just conceded 3 goals in quick succession. They've just lost a 3-goal lead. That's something we almost never see from this team. So that's crazy, absolutely crazy to me. Mentioned earlier that sometimes when they've been making deep runs in RLCS events, or they've making deep runs in LAN in the past, they've struggled offensively. But to see this in defense as well, very, very unusual. And not against, it's not like we're watching them play against a tournament favorite. Furia coming in as Sam 2, struggling in the group of death, had to reverse sweep R8 to get out of it. They're obviously hitting a little bit of a better spree of form here than they were before, but as you see there, 4-3, it's just an absolute disaster for NRG. And Furia, Jan was laughing at the demise of his longtime rival. Never beaten Atomic before, if I'm not mistaken. Now Jan finally does beat Atomic, so NRG lose this game. They go on to lose the series as well after another couple of games played. The overtime game 5, they were able to win it, then they lost 2-1 on Neo Tokyo, so another heartbreak for NA on Neo Tokyo. But yeah, absolutely crazy. NRG losing to Manchester City and Furia, teams that came into the event. Nobody's ranking these guys top 10 in the world, including myself. Never saw this coming. Even if you told me they hadn't prepared, I'd still think that they're going to win. So I think there's a combination here of the lack of prep, and also maybe I'm going to throw out another potential thing that could have happened here. Possibly underestimating their opponents, especially when they saw the schedule they had, when they saw the group of life, and they saw, okay, well, we're projected we might get a Shopify in the upper bracket. That would be a good match for us. Lower bracket, Fury, we never lose to these guys. I think they might have looked past their opponents a little bit and been punished for it. But yeah, you guys can let me know in the comments what you think. Bear in mind that these are like, I want to remind you guys, I'm talking purely about the gameplay. I only want to see comments really discussing gameplay and Rocket League related things. Nothing personal. I don't want to see any personal attacks on the players or on the team, because that's completely unwarranted. But my expectation is that these guys can use this as a learning experience. I think they can use it as motivation to bounce back. And the reason I think that is because we've seen it happen this year already. Copenhagen, they didn't qualify, they didn't prepare, they underestimated NA as a region, failed to qualify for Copenhagen. And then we saw after that they were able to win multiple regionals, have a decent LAN in Boston. So now that they're in a similar sort of position, okay, well, guys, you know it's gone wrong here. Like, you just didn't prepare, and now you show up and you get no synergy, and all of the worst parts of their gameplay are just exaggerated. All the best parts are missing. It's pretty obvious what went wrong here, but hopefully they can use it as motivation. I think in a more general sense, Rocket League pros, and this isn't just about NRG, but I think Rocket League pros in general need to realize how lucky they are to have the job that they have. Playing Rocket League for a living, although it can be a bit boring at times if you have to play ranked against players you don't want to play against, you have to scrim against teams you don't want to scrim against, you have to go through all of the whatever else teams do, replay analysis. It can be very repetitive, but it is still much easier than a real job, and for these guys and many other teams, far more lucrative. So I hope they realize, because most Rocket League pros are quite young, I hope they realize how lucky they are, and I'm speaking generally here, not about NRG. I hope Rocket League pros realize how lucky they are to have the job that they've got, and also I hope they realize how easy it is to lose it. Because if you have one bad event, one bad round of prep where you don't show up the way you need to, that's fine. Fans, orgs, probably going to forgive it, and then you can, as long as you do well the next one, everybody says all good, let's go, we're back. But we've seen it in the past many times. When this becomes a trend, when this becomes a habit for players and teams, that's when it can become career ending. So I don't think that's what's happening with NRG. I think they are going to bounce back from this, and I think they're going to be a contender for Worlds. But they and other teams in Rocket League need to realize how fortunate they are to have Rocket League as a job, and how easy that job is to, like, the practice element. I'm not saying it's easy to get good or it's easy to compete. Those things are obviously extremely difficult, but the actual work that you need to do to to have Rocket League as a job, the hours that these guys need to put in are much easier than real jobs. So I hope they realize how lucky they are, and I hope they can capitalize on this opportunity, because NRG, they're on the road to being the greatest roster of all time, and they're pretty close. I've still got the Gale Force Dig roster a bit ahead of them, but these guys are super close to being just the GOAT roster, and hopefully they can use that as motivation, try to go for multiple worlds like so many other players have, and just start treating Rocket League like a job. It's a job for the clues in the name. They're professionals, so with that in mind, it should be pretty easy to put the work in. But yeah, you guys let me know what you think in the comments. As I said before, let's keep it about Rocket League specifically, nothing personal, and let's try to be reasonable here with our takes. And good luck to NRG with the regain. Me personally, I hope that we get to see them be a contender. Hope we get to see them regain with Worlds being announced in the US again. It would be a shame if they're not in their best form for that. It would definitely make for a worse Dickies 3.0 if NRG are not the best version of themselves. So yeah, good luck to them. And only last thing to say is, as usual, as I conclude this video, check out the nextrank.com links in the description, check out Chalkcast links in the description, Next Rank course, YouTube channel, Discord, Chalkcast Patreon, and live shows. We'll be coming back start of June. Maybe this is already the start of June. I'm not sure when I'm uploading this, but I'm recording it as right now. It's the 27th of May, so June's just around the corner. Chalkcast coming back soon. But that's all I got for this one, guys. Like I said, keep it civil in the comments, and I will see you in the next one.